What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Jess here. If you are new to the channel, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And in today's video, we are going to be doing exercises that are targeted at widening the hips and giving you more of an hourglass shape. Now, before I say anything else, I have to mention that you cannot literally make your hips wider. Your hips are bone. Your hips are your skeletal makeup. A lot of your hips are just genetic, so you cannot literally make your hips bigger, but you can work the muscle around the hips, which in return will give you a wider looking figure. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Alright, so you guys already know I have to start off my workout with my Jess Right Fitness resistance band. So for this first workout, we're going to be doing lateral banded squat walks. So all you're going to do is take your Jess Right Fitness resistance band and put it slightly above your knees, and you're going to do a squat and then walk yourself towards the left and then towards the right. So I did 4 walks towards the left and then 4 walks towards the right, and I count that as 1 rep. So I did this 10 times. If you're a beginner, I would say aim for about 6 to 8 reps, but 10 you will definitely have you feeling it and will definitely have your glutes warmed up. Also, if you guys have watched my videos before, then you know that I usually take the time to describe what muscles are worked in each exercise, but I'm not going to do that today because, ladies, we are working all the same muscle groups in each exercise, even though they're different exercises. So we are focusing on the hip abductor muscles. So that's going to be your gluteus medius, your gluteus minimus, and your TFL. So all the workouts that we're going to be doing today are going to be working to strengthen and tone the muscles that reside along the hips and the glutes. Okay, so moving on into our next workout, we're going to be doing a banded hip abduction. So this is done with being in a squat stance. As you can see, and the movement here is literally just abducting your leg behind you. So it's very similar to an abduction machine if you want to think of it that way. But I am doing 20 reps, so that's 10 on each side. And remember that any abduction exercise is just the movement of taking your leg and moving it away from the center line. So keep that in mind when you're trying to correct your form for these exercises. Next, we're going to move on into side lunges. So I am using a dumbbell. You can do this body weight, you can grab a barbell, you can grab a kettlebell, whatever you want to hold. The main movement here is you're starting in a wide stance and then you're squatting to one side. And notice that I'm not doing like my left side and then my right side. I'm only focusing on one side, and that's specifically because I want to create tension in that one side, get that muscle warmed up, get that blood flowing, and then we're going to switch sides. So I'm doing 20 reps on my right side first, and then I'm going to switch over to my left side. So you want to try to get as deep into the squat as you can. I know it's kind of hard because it's not a typical squat and you're only using one side, but just try to go as deep as you can because you will feel it way more in your glutes. And I also see a lot of my clients have problems with this specific exercise, so make sure your knee is not going way over your toe and just try to make sure your body is in line. Now for this next exercise, you are going to want to use a dumbbell or a kettlebell, and you are going to want to hold it the way that I'm holding it. So we are going to be doing a sumo squat. So as you see, I take a wide stance and my toes are slightly pointed outwards. I drop down into a squat, I let the dumbbell hit the ground, and then I slowly come back. So the key thing to remember with a sumo squat, or at least this one specifically, is that you want to go slow. So maybe count 3 seconds down and 3 seconds up, because the slower you go, the slower your tempo is, the more you will feel the burn in your glutes. And because this is a slow movement, be sure to keep on top of your breathing here. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out, and always make sure you are squeezing your glutes at the top. That is rule number 1 to any glute exercise. Next, we are moving on into our curtsy lunges, which are super good for strengthening that gluteus medius as well as your inner thigh area. So what you're going to do is stand as though you were going to go into a regular reverse lunge, and instead of putting your foot behind you, bring it off to the side as if you're going to curtsy. Make sure your chest stays up and stop lunging when your thigh is parallel to the ground. Bring your leg back and then do the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to show you guys this exercise from a couple different angles because this is a exercise that can be kind of hard to master if you've never done it before. So just a few common mistakes you want to watch for. Make sure you aren't allowing your chest to fall too forward. Make sure that you are lowering down far enough. Some people aren't going to load down far enough, so they're not going to feel the full benefits of a curtsy lunge. Make sure that you're keeping your hips square, so your hips should be square with the rest of your body during a curtsy lunge. If you twist your hips as though you're curtsying, then you're losing the activation in your glutes and your hips. And then lastly, do not allow your knee to fall over your toe line. That is always, always, always with any lunge. And as you see, I am doing this body weight, but if you want to, you can obviously add a kettlebell or a dumbbell or even a barbell to this. Also, I'm going from my left to my right. You could just focus on one side and create that tension more so on one side and then switch sides. And going back to our Jess Right Fitness resistance bands, we are now going to go into a fire hydrant. So with a fire hydrant, you are going to start in a tabletop position. Keep your belly button drawn in towards your spine, keep your back flat, and keep your legs bent at 90 degrees. So go ahead and lift your left leg out to the side, stopping at hip height, and that is 1 rep. Return to start and then do it again. And of course, you don't have to do this with a resistance band, but it definitely helps to add a little bit of resistance and a little bit more of a challenge. This is one of my favorite glute exercises because it's so simple and it can be done almost anywhere. All you really need is a resistance band. And this also activates your core stabilizers and strengthens your core. But aside from your abs, this move primarily targets the glutes, focusing on the medius, the maximus, and the TFL. So you really can sculpt your butt from all angles with this one exercise. And moving on into the hip abduction machine, I'm sure you guys have all seen this. This is probably one of the most popular exercises for your hips. So the way that I'm showing you here is the standard way to do it with your butt seated on the seat. Now you're typically supposed to grip the handles that are on the sides, but I like to kind of lean forward because I feel like it gives my butt more of a workout as well as my core. So what you're gonna do is just push the pads out by moving your legs as far apart as possible. So just like the other exercises, the hip abduction machine trains the muscles that abducts or moves apart your thighs, like your gluteus medius and parts of your gluteus maximus. Now the second way to do it is one of my favorite ways, and I'm sure you have seen all the IG models do this, and I don't care what anyone says, this is still effective. I like to stand up sometimes because one, it gives my core way more of a workout because now I'm having to balance myself. And you also will feel this more in your glutes, in my opinion. Some people disagree, but give it a try and let me know what you think. Next, we are moving on to the cables. So go ahead and grab yourself an ankle strap for the cable machine, and you're gonna put it above your knee. Emphasis on above your knee, not below the knee. Once you have it on, you're going to want to adjust the cable pulley to be a little bit above your knee, not necessarily in line with your knee because you're going to lift your knee up anyways. Once you have it on, you're going to take a regular stance and lift up your knee and then abduct it outwards. So this is the same movement that we have been doing throughout the entire video. We did this with the fire hydrants, we did this with the abduction machines, except now you have full free range of motion with the cable machine and you can bring it out as wide as you want. So what's important to remember here is to not move your body with your leg. You want to try and keep a still stance and keep your body facing forward and then only move your knee and your hip outwards. Moving on into our next cable exercise, we're going to be doing a standing cable abduction. So you're going to want to lower the pulley all the way down, and you're going to move the cable strap from above your knee to on your ankle and go ahead and hook it up to the cable machine. And starting in a standing position, I like to start with the active foot a little bit behind my stable foot, and I just abduct outwards. So here you want to have a slight bend in your knees. You don't want to bend your knee, but you also don't want to have your knees locked. And you will definitely feel this all along that IT band, as well as your hip abductors and your gluteus medius.
And we're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. And as far as how high to lift your leg, I just aim to lift my leg as high as I possibly can because I know that's how I'll feel the most benefit from this exercise. And now we are going to move on into a cable pull through. Now a cable pull through is a compound exercise that works muscle groups in the posterior chain. So that includes your hamstrings, your glutes, and your lower back muscles as well. So to begin this workout, take a few steps away from the machine so that the pulley begins to lift the weight off the rack. You want a stance that is wider than shoulder width. So begin the movement by bending at the waist and pushing your hips back towards the machine, but don't allow your spinal alignment to change. You want to keep a neutral spine throughout the entire movement, but keep pushing your hips back until you feel a nice stretch in your hamstrings, and you're going to want a slight bend in the knees. Pause for a second and reverse the movement by extending the hips back towards their starting position. And make sure you are squeezing and activating your glutes at the top of the movement. Ooh, now we're moving on to one of my favorite workouts for that side booty. This is the kneeling cable side kicks. So you're gonna put that ankle strap on one of your ankles and you're gonna use the other leg to kneel down, and you're basically taking the active leg from behind you and bringing it out towards the side, like so. You will feel this all throughout your gluteus medius and your gluteus minimus. Now we are moving on into our side cable kickbacks. Now I will say at first you might not understand why you have to sit on your side when this is basically a regular kickback, but I promise you by laying on your side, you will feel this so much more in your side glutes, and that's the whole point of laying on the side. So basically you're just gonna lay on one of your stable legs and then have the ankle strap on your active leg and just kick backwards as you would for a regular standing kickback, except you're laying on your side, which is gonna put so much more emphasis on that gluteus minimus and the hip abductor muscles. So the movement here with that active leg is you're going from having a bent leg and you're just going to straighten it out, and you will feel your glutes fire up when you straighten your leg. Again, you don't have to have your knees locked here. A slight bend is definitely okay, but the main movement is straightening the leg because you'll definitely feel that extension throughout your glutes and your hips.
And moving on, we are going to go into a single side leg press. So by altering our stance for the leg press, instead of just working the typical muscles, the quads, the legs, the hamstrings, blah, 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 turning this way is going to put way more of an emphasis on the hip abductors, the gluteus minimus, and the gluteus medius. So for this, I like to sit on my stable leg, like the shin, as you can see here. And then as far as the active leg, where your foot goes is completely up to you. It's whatever is comfortable. Just find a good position where you can definitely feel this in your glutes. And now we're going to switch to the other side so you can definitely see how I got into this position. So I'm putting my shin down first, I'm sitting backwards on it, and then just putting my foot wherever is comfortable for me, and then push off just like you would for a regular leg press.
guys, and that is the end of this video. I surely hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget that you cannot literally grow your hips, but you can definitely tone that muscle around your hips to give you a wider looking hip structure. With all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button. Don't forget to drop me a comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on my socials at the Jess Nicole, at Jess Right Fitness on Instagram. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.